Right, that should be us live, hopefully. So welcome to this LinkedIn Live session. We'll be hosting these every week throughout the course of summer. So I will share further details as we go throughout the summer of who's on the follow-up sessions and who's coming next. Today, as you can see, we're obviously joined by Charles Whitaker, and I'll ask Charles to give him an introduction in a minute. All I will say for anyone watching live, anyone that wants to ask questions, anyone wants to add comments, please feel free to do that in the comments section as we go. Before we hand over to Charles, Adam, do you want to add anything? Bit of background while you're with me, and then we'll go over to Charles.
Well, we're always doing these sort of things on these LinkedIn Lives. It's always good to catch up with the Conex members and the different topics and stuff like that. So just supporting and ask questions and extract more out of Charles.
That's the plan.
I've got a stone here if you'd like.
So, I mean, I guess the first thing then, over to you, Charles. What's your background, your kind of overview? How do you tell people who you are and what you do when you're out and about talking to them?
Yeah, it's always interesting. I often reflect how I came to be in Conex, but my background is actually in manufacturing. That's the linkage here, although it's far away from what I do nowadays. But I do enjoy that link into manufacturing, engineering community. So I was a senior leader in paper manufacturing for many years, and so I know what pressure's like from the inside. I've been through it and survived it somehow. And since then, over the years, I've trained and worked one-to-one with people who've been through some pretty heavy-duty stuff, the hardest edge of human experience, some things I've helped people to deal with. And along with the manufacturing experience I had, it's given me a real insights to what goes on inside people, the kind of things that they actually tolerate and put up with. So nowadays, I bring all that experience together, and my focus is mainly with men, but not exclusively. Usually with experienced men who've built a life that works by every external measure of success, but very often they've quite lost sight of what's inside them. And that losing sight means that there's a sense of maybe a disorientation, not quite certain where they are. When I talk to men privately one-to-one about this and sort of see, it's typically happening when you're getting maybe over 50. And I know I know there may be women watching too, so I'm not just, I'm addressing men specifically, but I know this does happen to women too. So I'm sorry I'm not deliberately excluding you. There's a sense when you get that age, you sort of think, is this really me? There's a sense of losing. You've lost sight. All the years you've played a role and you followed a script. From a childhood, you were given a script, and you followed that. You became whoever you were, and you were husband, father, role in whatever role you followed. These were handed to you in many ways. There's elements of choice, of course, but beneath that, in fulfilling those roles, you lose sight of who you really are. And so that's where I focus on, helping people to sort of survive that and enjoy life much better. Along the way, what thing leads into that very often is the fact that in leadership roles, we have a lot of sustained pressure. And that sort of influences how we think and perceive the world.
Interesting. I mean, that's the first place that I'm going to take this conversation, is that leadership pressure, how long it takes to almost come to the forefront to realize, is it a slow build up? What do you kind of see? How do you see this affecting people, most commonly in your work?
I see it's a slow build up, really, Sam. It's not typically, obviously, we're always talking about typical things here. I'm sorry for people watching if my camera does seem rather dark. I've done my best to adjust it. The build-up is slow, and it comes with, as we accrue responsibility, we take on more and more, especially if it's our business. We carry everything, so that all the things that we carry do have this impact on the pressure we feel. So we have conversations that never get completed, and we're still thinking about them at 11 o'clock at night. They're still running in our heads, or emails that we don't get quite answered. Oh, I forgot to read that email. All these things add into, slowly but surely, building up the kind of things that we're carrying all the time. Very often the small things, of course, large things too.
Yeah, and it's that slow build up, I guess. I saw a article or a piece of work that someone had written recently around that almost that stress response and that stress build up. And if you start here, but then something happens which takes your stress levels to here, and then you start to recover, but if something else happens, then you're suddenly up here. And it's that recognizing the difference between your starting point and where you are, and how you get back to the difference. And if you can't get back to the difference, if you're going over a sustained number of years where it's slowly building and building, what impact does that have on you? And I guess that's where a lot of your work comes into play, when that pressure has built over a period of time, and I guess people are unaware of it.
That's the thing. We're often unaware of these things. It kind of slips in behind, and when it's, and the things to look for are things like the knot in the stomach, or this lying awake at 3 o'clock in the morning, and this sense of being empty becomes normalized. And so once it's normalized, it's just part of who we are. We just assume there's nothing different. And we look at other people, because we're very good at comparing ourselves to other people. Well, they look okay, so therefore I must be okay too. I'm just making this up. It's a story. It's a story I'm telling myself inside my head.
Do you think, Charles, under that constant pressure, that sustained pressure, our decision making goes from being managing by fact to more gut feeling, so that because we're looking for a quicker decision process? And how does that affect us both mentally, cognitively? Because you can't keep that sustained for a long period of time.
It's the cognitive thing is really interesting, Adam, in my view, because as I see it, all these things are accumulating.
Yeah.
And the more of these, even if they're small things, they're taking up this cognitive capacity. So the decision making comes from a narrower space inside us. And very often, either we don't make a decision because we're just carrying so much, and we get to a point of not being able to make a decision, or we make a decision quickly. And whilst we clear the decks because we've made the decision, it's not necessarily the best decision we could have made in the circumstances. Now, I've kind of skipped around the question of the gut. I think listening to your gut is important, because, excuse me, in my view, we work as a whole, and we can live too much inside our head at times. So the more we can be present as a whole person, then that will help the decision-making process. I don't know if that's answered your question properly, though.
No, yeah. I was just because the other side of it, and I suppose because I've certainly noticed this, the pressure. Here's another question, because question this inside my own head: does the pressure actually change the higher you go up, or is it the point of fact that you are more on your own the higher you go
up? It's the pressure.
There's less people being candid with you at like CEO level. They tend to pander, and you're not necessarily getting that direct feedback and blunt feedback, because it's a lonely place. When we come down the levels, we've got more of a team around us, so it doesn't. You're talking potentially more with other people. So, is it the pressure that builds, or is it the point of fact that we're getting lonelier as we're going up?
I think my perception. My perception is both, Adam.
Yeah.
Because there is pressure, because at the end of the day, you carry it all. That's half of the answer, but the other half is because you are in this elevated position. It's down to your own process of do you allow other people to give you direct feedback, and that's very much down to the individual. But I would suggest it's a little bit too rare.
So the longer you're, I guess, exposed to these decisions, in some cases that just means you're an employee in a business and you're exposed to the same decisions every single day, but that prolonged exposure may change that decision making. But at the same time, if you're exposed to decisions which increase in, let's say, difficulty or are constantly changing because you're going up the chain, as it were, it still has the same long-term impact, which I guess, as you say, a really interesting analogy where it almost compiles that decision-making space that's actually left within you becomes much, much smaller the longer you're exposed to it.
Unless we have internal processes which progressively keep that space for thinking clear, then inevitably it will build up.
Okay, I look at it. As in the roles, we're dealing with problems. The reward for solving that problem is another problem, and at the levels you're going up, the problems are getting bigger. That's your reward. You're constantly in that cycle, and it comes back to how you can cognitively behave like that for a long period of time, because I don't think you can. And that's where some of my sort of like observations and things like that, the gut starts to overtake because you want quicker decisions, and we start missing out and managing by fact because we haven't, as you said, Charles, got that time frame. We haven't got that time frame to really get to grips with it. Now, I'm all right in correctly saying that. I don't know whether I've just speared up my own backside with that one then.
So my question off the back of that would be, A, how do you recognize it? And then B, how do you break it? Because obviously it's a cycle. And if you just keep building up on that cycle, yes, you're going to end up in this, prolonged responsibility. You're going to end up in interesting situation.
It's good to link those two together, Sam, because first of all, you have to recognize it. And part of the problem is, as I said a minute ago, some of these things get normalized, which it's just part of the background. So how to notice it is bring your awareness to what you're doing. Am I replaying that conversation? Do I find myself at 3 o'clock in the morning not necessarily thinking about anything, but not quite settling either? There might be something going around, but there might just something not quite present, that lying there. Or if you notice that you're delaying decisions, why are you delaying that decision? There's something going on, because normally if we don't have all this clutter, then we'll make the decisions. We'll be sharp on to the point. So it's noticing how we're behaving any one moment in time. All these little, so it's little things rather than the big things. Am I delaying decisions? And listen to what people are saying. Are people? It might be that people stop bringing stuff to us because that guy's carrying too much, or they don't think he's carrying too much, but they know that they're not really getting listened to properly, so they stop coming to you. being aware of that too can be a factor.
So, and I think the as you say, normalizing it isn't the way to go. So just by saying, yeah, I've recognized that's a problem, but it's just the way I am, it's just the way things happen, it's, you know, it's just part of the job, it's just part of the role, that's just what I have to deal with. It's a step beyond that, isn't it? It's not just the fact of being like, okay, well, I recognize it, but I can't do anything about it. And it's the next step to try and, I guess, break it and bring yourself back to whatever your baseline level is.
Yeah, I don't see it as breaking it. I think that analogy is slightly wrong in as much as breaking it means breaking to me is you've snapped it and it's not going to come back. I think for me it's an ongoing process. So we build it in. We're not going to go away on a retreat and suddenly come back all singing or dancing. It has to be something we can build into the day. We've got busy life. We're busy people. We don't have hours and hours and hours to go off and do stuff. So it's having small things which we can use constantly throughout the day and the week to sort of look after ourselves in a way which sort of clears this space so we can maintain our clear thinking.
Like clearing your cache off your PC.
Yeah, a bit like that's a good analogy, Adam. Yeah.
It is. I found for me, obviously, when I went through it years back, was the little trade-offs that were happening and the little signs I began to become aware of. So things like if I was driving, teeth clenched. And my head going round, and I noticed that my left leg was forcing against the dash because the tension was there.
Yeah.
And it's those little things that I started to spot. It took me a little while, but I started to spot. And then how I could start changing the distraction factor for me. That's just worked for me in the early phases.
Yeah. It's these little details. I was offering some, but you're right. They're all very individual. And
yeah.
Teeth clenching is a really big one. I mean, people end up with severely damaged teeth because they grind them at night too. Daytime and nighttime, they grind them, do themselves serious damage. So that's one thing that might be a tell. But also the smaller things, just like you're gripping your leg against the side when you're driving, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. So there's a couple of questions. I don't know if you've been able to see these, Charles, from your screen. Maybe not. Let me see if I can actually put it onto the screen. There you go. So obviously your baseline experience previously in the engineering world, did you? I guess a lot of your work today has come off the back of your experience in leading manufacturing teams and working with and around manufacturing teams. Is there something that you've taken from that world that you now work on? So what's that leadership habit or mindset that consistently helped you stay resilient under pressure? And what's one habit that you wish you changed much earlier? Okay. That's an interesting question. Thank you for that, Sushil.
Thank you, Sushil. Yeah, I'm not going to give one habit. I'm going to probably give two or three in the answer to that. But anyway, here we go. I rarely admit to this. Back in the day, I was very fortunate to have my own office, and so I would grab a quick canteen lunch, return to the office, turn the chair around, and have a nap. And I still do it now. A lunchtime nap is hugely restorative if you can work it into your system. It makes a huge difference to your energy levels, to your ability to think, to stay grounded, stay present, to deal with what's going on. Now, I appreciate it's not as suitable for everybody. So I come into the second part of my answer is that our body goes through cycles of 120 minutes. Wherever we can, taking the last 20 minutes of that 120 to change something that we're doing, not to push through. It's not pushing through and denying the biology of our system, which drains us. And so finding things which sort of like distractions. So you can use that time to sort of deal with some of these things, but more importantly to, in an ideal world, and you have to make up your own answers to this, but the ideal is to get out in the fresh air for 10 minutes. Now, I know that's not the reality everybody faces, but it's that kind of idea of finding something you can actually do, which works for you to get you away from what you're doing. The only thing is that I might say, well, you're not going to get as much work done. In my view, and there is evidence to support this, you'll actually get more done.
Could not agree more. Yeah, 100%. I mean, it happened to me even yesterday. I was working. I didn't have any calls or meetings. I just had a block of work, a task to complete. And you're right. It probably was that, I guess, that 120 minutes, around the 100-minute mark. I was like, I need something is like telling me to change or move or go and do something or just switch up what I'm doing. And I know if I'd have sat there and just plowed through, my work would have just gone like that for the rest of the afternoon. I would have still done it, but I may not have done it as good, or I may have missed bits, or I may have not have got as much done, or whatever it may be. So I went, took a little walk, literally went outside my flat. I emptied my bins, just something that was just different to what I was doing, and then came back and then was able to go again for another hour and a half, 2 hours, knowing that I'd actually getting stuff done. And it does make a massive difference. Just breaking
in essence, it's just coming back to that clearing that cache thing, isn't it? It's allowing that reset. And the more I think, because mine very, I think it was similar to what Joel was saying around mine. Is I used to fight like hell against it, but I could be sitting working like this, and my head would drop, and I'd be going into sort of like what I classed as standby mode. So so all the power's gone off, and I used to fight against it. I used to fight like hell against it. Just keep going. This past 10 years or so, I haven't. I've let it happen, and it was like for me, it was like almost like a meditation side. My brain was going and whirring away, and I just dropped. My eyes had closed, I dropped. I was still thinking, but it allowed me that 10, 15 minutes where I'd come back up and I'd be away again. But it was my body telling me that for me.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's noticing what your body is telling you, and actually doing something about it. And how often do we ignore it and push through at our peril, at our cost?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's working with our biology rather than against it is the important thing.
So Ruth's put a question in saying, what would happen if things don't change? So if you don't listen to your body, if you don't adapt to these settings, if you just keep going over the course of years, constantly pushing through, working to achieve whatever it is you want to achieve, what's the negative impact of doing that?
It's very, very individual. There's a theoretical answer and a personal answer. The theoretical answer is that when we're stressed, we release I can't remember what it is. The second chemical release in our body is cortisol. And cortisol is the dangerous one because it doesn't kick in straight away. Something else kicks in. Adrenaline kicks in straight away. And adrenaline will do that up and down in a shot, flash. Cortisol lasts. So cortisol will climb and is a half-life of several hours. So just supposing your stress happens and the cortisol goes up, and another stressful event happens and it keeps it up. So then you're accumulating all this cortisol in your system. Now, I'm not a medic, so I can't give a proper medical answer to that, but I don't think that accrual of cortisol does any of us any good.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, we've all heard stories of what happens, you know, and a lot of the medical, there are all sorts of articles and interesting pieces about this, but the medical effect of a constant high level of stress or a constant high level of cortisol, and what that then does to your body, and a lot of other illnesses and a lot of other things that happen are also linked to that high level of cortisol and stress. And there's some fascinating books and information around there around how, you know, what happens after a certain amount of time when you're in these situations, and a lot of it does come down to that stress and what you can do to lower that cortisol level again. So what else is a good how else can we recognize when we're pushing too much or when we're running on empty? I know, Adam, you've said the potential like teeth clenching and the muscle situation. Obviously, Ruth actually mentioned sleepwalking in the comments. Is there anything else that is a sign of these sorts of things, though, that cortisol is too high? What else is there?
Being irritable, being sharp, going home in the evening. If you're out all day and you get home to your loved ones, and that old self doesn't arrive, something else arrives instead. You can be sharper than you would like to be, or you don't want to be sharp anyway. So having some space to land when you get home can be a useful thing as well, to allow you to sort of decompress at the end of the day.
Yeah, interesting. We've got a few minutes left, and I'm going to set everyone who's listening a challenge at the end of this session. Any practical methods that you'd like to give people other than standing up and going for a walk or going to get some fresh air or changing that habit? Is there anything else that you want to share with people that people should look out for, or what they could do to support this, other than get in touch with yourself?
Oh yeah, yes. Build up a habit of noticing, and it's not quick fix, but learn to notice how you are at any one moment. And the more you can build this up, the more you then be able to engage with the other activities of sort of say, okay, I forgot to do that. I'll get that email sent, or I'll go and have that. Sometimes we're very good at putting off difficult conversations, and that is part of the thing that clutters. And the minute we can deal with that kind of stuff, it starts to declutter. So we've been holding off having a difficult conversation. Getting that out of the way has a massive impact. And the other point I would offer is that since many of us here are used to working with machines, manufacturing, we would look after our machinery by having regular maintenance schedule. Would we not? Why don't we do that for ourselves? We're the people in charge, and yet we're not giving that person in charge the same benefit we give our machines.
That's a nice one to end on, isn't it? To have a think about that. I mean, there's a whole load of questions and thoughts that we could dive into around this. Adam, did you want to add anything?
No, because I think it was a good way to end it. I think one of the stats that I came across recently, I can't remember where I read it from. I don't know whether it was the Chartered Management Institute. I'm not sure about this, but they were saying that in the awareness gap of understanding, it was like 95% believe they are self-aware, but only 10 to 15% actually demonstrate it.
Yeah.
So it's you know it's that I thought that was an interesting stat as well. But also from a viewpoint of what Charles just been saying, from the coaching and and that side, the return on investment of that, the stats around that is phenomenal. Because I think we differentiate leadership development and business development, and not the one and the same. Leadership development is business development because it allows us to perform better, and therefore the business performs better.
And people don't think of it in that way.
Yeah, they don't.
Which is interesting. So obviously feel free to connect with Charles, have a conversation around all of this sort of stuff. We'll be following this up with some more conversations and support over the next few months. It is a really interesting topic to dive into. Obviously we're on LinkedIn, so you'll all see Charles's page on the profile, so you can click and connect with Charles from there. And everyone should now stand up and go for a walk. Is what anyone that's listened to this and has sat with us for half an hour hearing us talk, they need to now stand up. It's a nice day. Go outside, get some fresh air, and drop those stress levels a little bit. Is what I'm going to take from this. So thank you both very much for joining me. And yeah, we'll be back next week.
Thanks, Sam. Thanks everybody for listening.
Good discussion.